I'm 42. Married for 13 years. 2 kids. A house that looks like it belongs to someone who has everything figured out. From the outside, my life was boring in the best way. Predictable. Stable. Safe. I built my own business from nothing, worked stupid hours, missed dinners, missed school plays, but I told myself it was all for them. For us. My wife and I used to joke that we were the boring couple. No drama. No jealousy. No secrets. I trusted her completely. I never checked her phone. Never questioned where she went. Never imagined I'd be the kind of man writing something like this anonymously to strangers. We hired a butler 3 years ago. Even writing that feels ridiculous. It wasn't about luxury. It was about time. I was drowning in work, and my wife was overwhelmed managing the house and kids alone most days. He was efficient, polite, invisible in the way staff are supposed to be. Life felt normal. That's the part that messes with me the most. Nothing dramatic happened at first. No explosions. Just routine. Coffee in the mornings. A kiss goodbye. Texts about groceries and bills. If someone had told me then that my marriage was already cracking, I would have laughed. I believed trust was enough. I believed love was solid just because it had lasted. I didn't know how wrong I was. Looking back, I can see the build-up like a slow leak I ignored because the house was still standing. The first red flag was small. She mentioned the butler's name more than necessary. Just casual comments. He handled the kids well today. He reorganized the pantry. Nothing inappropriate on its own. I was exhausted all the time. When you run your own business, there's always another fire to put out. I convinced myself that my absence was temporary, that things would calm down eventually. I didn't see how lonely she had become. She started dressing differently at home. Not sexy, just intentional. Makeup on days she wasn't going anywhere. I noticed, felt a flicker of something, then buried it under deadlines and invoices. They laughed together. I'd hear it from my office when I worked from home. Laughter that stopped when I entered the room. I told myself I was paranoid. He was younger, attentive, always there. I was tired, distracted, mentally elsewhere. Trust makes you stupid. Or maybe comfort does. I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I didn't want to interrogate my wife like she'd done something wrong. I thought love meant giving space. So I ignored the signs. I ignored how she checked her phone more often. How she smiled at messages she didn't explain. How she seemed irritated when I came home early. I thought I was being mature. I thought I was secure. I thought wrong. The doubt didn't hit me all at once. It crept in quietly, like a bad thought you can't shake. One night, I came home late and found them in the kitchen. Too close. Not touching, but close in a way that felt intimate. She jumped slightly when she saw me. I laughed it off. Made a joke. He excused himself quickly. My wife avoided my eyes. Later that night, I asked if everything was okay. She said yes too quickly. I asked if she was happy. She said of course. Then she turned it around and asked why I was acting weird. That's when the self-doubt started. Was I projecting? Was I feeling guilty for working too much and inventing problems? I told myself to stop. Then came the message. I wasn't snooping. Her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. The name popped up. His name. Just a preview. I missed today already. My chest tightened. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. That one sentence rewired everything. I sat on the bed, staring at the wall, trying to breathe normally. I felt ridiculous. 42 years old, heart racing like a teenager. When she came out, I pretended nothing happened. That might be the part one regret the most. Not saying something immediately. Letting the doubt rot inside me. That was the moment everything changed, even though nothing had technically happened yet. Or maybe it already had. I didn't sleep that night. I watched her breathe next to me and wondered who she was thinking about. The next few days felt unreal, like I was watching my own life through glass. I started noticing everything. The way she checked her phone when he was nearby. The way she defended him unnecessarily. "He's just doing his job. You're overthinking." Those words became weapons. I told myself I wouldn't spy. I didn't have time for games. I had meetings, employees depending on me, contracts on the line. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared of confirming what I already felt. The revelation came accidentally. I came home early again, unannounced. I heard voices upstairs. Soft. Intimate. I climbed the stairs quietly, heart pounding like I was the one doing something wrong. The door to the guest room was closed. That room was never used. I opened it. They weren't having sex. Somehow, that almost made it worse. They were sitting on the bed, her legs folded toward him, his hand on her knee. She was crying. He was wiping her tears. She said my name like she'd been caught stealing. I don't remember what I said. I remember the sound of my own heartbeat. I remember how small the room felt. He stood up immediately, stammering apologies. She just stared at me, eyes red, mouth open, like the truth had finally caught up. That was the moment everything shattered. Not with a scream. Not with violence. Just silence so loud it hurt. I asked one question. "How long?" She didn't answer at first. He tried to speak, and I told him to leave. My voice sounded calm, which scared me. He left without looking back. She started crying harder. Said it wasn't what it looked like. Said nothing physical had happened yet. Said she felt alone. Said I was never there. I sat down. My legs felt weak. I remember thinking, this can't be my life. Eventually she admitted it. Emotional affair. Months long. Confessions. Touching. Almost crossing the line more than once. She said she loved me but was confused. I laughed. A sharp, ugly sound. Love didn't feel like this. I felt betrayed, humiliated, stupid. I'd welcomed that man into my home. Trusted him around my children. Trusted my wife with my entire life. Anger came later. At first, it was disbelief. Like if I stayed calm enough, it might rewind itself. I slept in my office that night. I couldn't stand the smell of our bed. Everything felt contaminated. The next morning, the kids asked why Daddy looked sad. I didn't know how to answer. That's when the consequences became real. This wasn't just about her and me. This was about the life we built collapsing quietly while everyone pretended it was fine. I went to work and stared at my screen for hours, unable to focus. The business I sacrificed everything for suddenly felt meaningless. I had trusted her. Completely. And trust, once broken, doesn't shatter cleanly. It splinters. The confrontation didn't end that day. It stretched on for weeks, replaying itself in different forms. She wanted to talk. I wanted answers. Neither of us got what we needed. She minimized it. We didn't sleep together. Like that was supposed to comfort me. Like emotional intimacy wasn't the core of our marriage. I asked if she loved him. She said no. Then said she didn't know. That, "I don't know," haunted me more than a yes would have. She blamed loneliness. My work. My absence. And part of me accepted that blame because it was easier than admitting she made choices. Friends noticed the tension. Family asked questions. We lied. Smiled. Played roles. I fired him. That conversation was cold and professional. He apologized again. Said he never meant to hurt anyone. I didn't respond. I don't know if he deserved my anger or my pity. At night I replayed everything. Wondered where I failed. Wondered if I'd driven her into someone else's arms. She cried a lot. Promised transparency. Offered counseling. Gave me her phone without asking. It felt too late. Like closing the door after the house burned down. I felt ashamed for staying. Ashamed for wanting to leave. Ashamed for still loving her. Trust became a constant calculation. Every smile, every text, every silence carried weight. I wasn't the same man anymore. I became suspicious, quiet, emotionally distant. And she noticed. Sometimes betrayal doesn't end a marriage immediately. Sometimes it just poisons it slowly. The emotional impact was deeper than I expected. I'd always thought of myself as rational, controlled. This broke something primal in me. I started questioning my worth. Was I boring? Unattractive? Replaceable? Those thoughts kept me awake more than the anger did. I felt jealous in ways I'd never experienced. Imagining their conversations. The way she might have looked at him. The way she used to look at me. I hated myself for those thoughts, but I couldn't stop them. Work suffered. I missed meetings. Snapped at employees. My business partner asked if I was okay. I lied. At home, I went through the motions. Helped with homework. Made dinner sometimes. But emotionally, I was somewhere else, stuck in that guest room doorway. She tried to be affectionate. I flinched without meaning to. Touch felt complicated now. Loaded. I felt guilty for pulling away, then angry at myself for feeling guilty at all. She broke us. Why was I the one carrying the weight? Some nights, I slept in the car just to be alone. Silence felt safer than conversations that went nowhere. I didn't tell anyone the truth. Not my friends. Not my family. I was embarrassed. A successful man who couldn't keep his wife emotionally satisfied. The hardest part was realizing that even if we stayed together, something fundamental had changed. The version of us I believed in was gone. And I grieved it like a death no one else could see. Counseling didn't fix anything. It just exposed how far apart we'd drifted. She wanted reassurance. I wanted certainty that didn't exist anymore. We talked about boundaries, communication, rebuilding trust. All the right words. None of them erased the images in my head. She apologized constantly. Sometimes sincerely. Sometimes defensively. I stopped knowing the difference. The kids sensed it. Became quieter. Asked why Mom and Dad didn't laugh as much. That guilt cut deeper than anything else. I considered leaving. Researched apartments late at night. Imagined a life split in half. Weekends alone. Holidays negotiated. But I was scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of breaking my family. Scared of making the wrong choice. She begged me to stay. Promised it would never happen again. Said she felt invisible and stupid and ashamed. I believed her remorse. I just didn't know if remorse was enough. Some days felt normal again. Others felt unbearable. Healing wasn't linear. It was exhausting. Trust became something I consciously performed rather than felt. And that kind of trust is fragile. I started realizing that even if she never betrayed me again, I would always carry the fear that she could. That realization changed how I saw the future. Less hopeful. More cautious. Love, I learned, doesn't always die in betrayal. Sometimes it just becomes something sadder and heavier. The consequences extended beyond us. Friends drifted away without knowing why. My parents noticed the distance and worried. My mental health declined. Anxiety attacks. Short temper. I felt like I was constantly bracing for impact. I stopped enjoying things. Even successes at work felt hollow. Money didn't matter when my home felt unstable. She tried harder. Date nights. Notes. Effort. I appreciated it, but it also hurt. Why now? Why not before? Sometimes I looked at her and felt love. Other times, resentment flooded in so fast it made me dizzy. I realized that forgiveness isn't a single decision. It's a daily negotiation. And some days I couldn't do it. We stopped talking about the future. Everything became short-term. Survive the week. Get through the month. Intimacy returned slowly, awkwardly. It never felt the same. There was always a shadow in the room. I wondered if staying was cowardice or commitment. I still don't know. People think betrayal is a clear line. Cross it and everything ends. The reality is messier. Pain stretches out. Choices blur. I'm still functioning. Still married. Still showing up. But part of me is permanently changed. I don't know if that part will ever come back. Time passed, but resolution didn't arrive. We learned how to coexist with the damage. That might be the most honest way to describe it. She became more open. Shared her location. Over-communicated. It helped, but it also reminded me of why it was necessary. I stopped working late as much. Tried to be present. Tried to rebuild something from the wreckage. But sometimes I caught myself watching her when she laughed at her phone, my chest tightening automatically. Old wounds don't need much to reopen. We never told the kids the truth. They just know Mom and Dad had a hard year. I still think about that message. I miss today already. It replays in my head during quiet moments. I don't hate her. That surprises people when I say it out loud. I'm hurt. I'm cautious. I'm tired. Some days I wonder what would have happened if I'd trusted my instincts earlier. Other days I blame myself for not being there. The truth is, both of us failed in different ways. Our marriage didn't explode. It eroded. Slowly. Quietly. Like stone worn down by water. I'm still here. Still trying. But I'm not the man I was before. And maybe that's the real consequence. Losing a version of yourself you didn't know how much you valued until it was gone. People assume time heals things. I used to believe that too. What time really does is dull the sharpest edges so you can function again. The wound is still there. You just learn how not to touch it. By year 2 after everything came out, we stopped talking about it entirely. Not because it was resolved, but because it was exhausting. Every conversation circled back to the same pain. Same apologies. Same dead ends. From the outside, we looked fine again. Vacations. Family photos. Birthday posts. I played the role well. Too well, maybe? Inside, I carried a quiet distance. I stopped sharing my fears. My dreams. My doubts. I didn't want to hand her anything fragile ever again. Sometimes she noticed. Asked why I felt far away. I never had a good answer. How do you explain that trust, once broken, rewires your brain? I started keeping things to myself. Long walks. Late-night drives. Moments where I could just exist without pretending I was okay. I didn't cheat. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. And peace felt easier alone, even while married. That realization scared me more than the affair ever did. There was a moment I remember clearly. Ordinary. Forgettable to anyone else. We were at a dinner party, laughing with friends. She reached for my hand under the table. I felt nothing. No warmth. No instinct. Just awareness. That's when I understood the real loss. Not the marriage. Not the trust. The emotional reflex. The automatic sense of us. I still cared about her. Still loved her, maybe. But it was different. More fragile. Conditional. I wondered if this was what staying meant. A quieter life. A safer distance. Love with limits. We never separated. Not officially. But something did separate inside me. A door closed that I didn't know how to reopen. I stopped imagining growing old together. Stopped planning beyond the near future. It wasn't punishment. It was self-protection. She sensed it and grew anxious. Tried harder again. I didn't push her away, but I didn't lean in either. I don't know if this is forgiveness. Or just endurance. Sometimes I think about the man I was before. Confident. Secure. Certain. I miss him. Betrayal didn't just change how I saw my wife. It changed how I see people. How easily I trust. how much of myself I give. I'm more guarded now. With everyone. I used to believe that loyalty was mutual by default. Now I see it as a choice people make every day. And sometimes don't. I don't tell this story to anyone in my real life. I don't want pity. I don't want advice. I don't want people looking at my wife differently. So I carry it quietly. Some nights, I still replay the moment I opened that door. How calm I felt. How final it seemed. Like something inside me made a decision before I could stop it. That version of me never fully came back. We're still together. That surprises people when they hear parts of the story later, vague versions without details. They assume forgiveness is clean. That staying means healing. It doesn't always. Sometimes staying just means choosing the familiar pain over the unknown one. I don't regret staying. I don't regret not leaving either. I regret believing love was immune to neglect. I regret confusing trust with complacency. If there's a lesson, it's not dramatic. It's uncomfortable. People don't usually betray out of nowhere. And betrayal doesn't always end things. Sometimes it just changes their shape forever. I'm writing this because it still lives in me. Because silence has weight. Because I needed somewhere to put the truth without protecting anyone. If you're reading this and you feel something is off in your relationship, don't ignore it out of fear of being wrong. And don't assume trust alone is enough to hold things together. I loved my wife. I still do, in a quieter way. But I will always carry the knowledge that I was replaceable in her loneliness. That knowledge never fully fades. This isn't a story with a clean ending. Just a life that kept going after something fundamental cracked. And some days that's the hardest part to accept.